Hello everyone, it's Chris, and today we're going to talk about a new product. It is called the Zulu SCSI. What is it? It is a SCSI device emulator similar to the RASCSI with the Raspberry Pi that I have shown in previous videos. This is based off technologies from the SCSI to SD V6, this is a version 5, broke, the BlueSCSI for the Macintosh, and this is its new hybrid. This is the Zulu SCSI. It is pretty much, board-wise, almost identical to that of the SCSI to SD, but they both work in very different ways. While the SCSI to SD requires you to plug this device in via USB and run the SCSI to SD utility on your Windows computer and configure partition types based on the SD card that you provide in it. For example, this is a simple 8 gig card where I have two partitions on the device, which I'll show right here. You plug in your SCSI to SD, where you get a log right here. There we go. There's my 5.2 device. And you can see here that if I read from the device, so we have read this card, this individual card. You can see I have a 2 gig partition, and then that's all I have. If I wanted to add another device on this SD card, I would click Enable SCSI Target and check Auto and give it a size of like 4 gigabytes. That way I'd have a 2 gig and a 4 gig. And then I could say Save to Device, and it would write the array over here. That is how you program the SCSI to SD. Then you would put this device as a hard drive in your machine, whether it be an Amiga, a Mac, even an Atari, and then this would be that device, that hard drive with these configured devices. So that was the SCSI to SD. And this is a device on your SCSI bus. This is a device emulator. Like the RASCSI, you can run hard drive files. The benefit to that is you can configure your file in Winuae, which we're going to show simply creating a 4 gig or less bootable, this is going to be for the Amiga, bootable partition that I'm going to use for DH0, and then I'll make a DH1 or 2 or whatever you want. It's a simple task of just naming your file HD0, HD1, 2, 3, whichever you want the ID to be. The benefit of this is you can store more than one file on a card. You don't need to partition this card to be your hard drive. You're simply presenting this as a device on your SCSI bus in which the math and science inside read the files and present them as the appropriate device for your computer. And this is how we set it up. I have gone ahead and inserted my 32 gig card into my drive right here. However, it is currently in FAT32. The problem with that lies in the file size limitation. FAT32 can only read up to a 4 gigabyte file. If you wanted a larger hard drive, like I'm going to do on the Amiga, you're going to need to have that either as exFAT or NTFS. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on this and I'm going to say Format. It's going to detect it as exFAT 28.8, and I'm going to call this Amiga, just for my own reference. Quick format it. There we go. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to launch Winuae again. You can launch it as regular or administrator. You don't need to configure anything on here. All I'm doing is going to this CD and hard drives category, and I'm going to say add a hard file. Now, very simple. I'm not worried about anything in the northern hemisphere here. I'm just simply going to create a 3800 megabyte file. I'm leaving this on RDB, OFS, FFS. You could change the partition type if you would like from PFS3, PDS3, SFS, or your own. But for now, I'm just going to click Create. And we need to name this something simple, HD0.HDA. That means it's a hard drive at ID0, and we want an HDA file. Contradictory to what the Zulu SCSI installation instructions recommend as a .img or HDF, you want to name it HDA for the Amiga. Otherwise, it won't work. Click Save. This will take a minute as it spins. Your SD card reader will freak out, and when it is done, you will have a file on this Amiga drive, when it's done, called hd0.hd. Okay, so with that done, we're just simply removing the card right out of the device, and we're going to plug it into the Zulu SCSI. Now, can you build this entire thing on Winuae? Of course you can. You're just adding the hard file after you create it in Winuae and building it that way. It's 10 times as fast, but I just want to show you teach a man to fish kind of way. For this big instance, I'm still working on Mr. Jack's 3000T. So, whoop, right here is the 3000T. I'm going to insert the Zulu SCSI in here, and I'm going to give it a Berg power. For safety reasons, because this is just not mounted, I'm going to stick it in the bag it came in. There are 4 jumpers on this device. It is labeled as boot, term, DBG, and SW1. The manual says leave them alone, so I just leave them alone. Terminator power is enabled by default, so we're just going to put that there and slide this out of the way. For noise, I have removed the case fan power down here. I'm going to flip this to my VGA signal, and in my GoTech here, I have installed 3.2, or no, HD setup 3.2. We're going to turn this on, and we are going to let it boot this device. It is booting now off HD setup. As this boots, you may see your SCSI light blink a little bit. Now the front fascia is off of this because it's in for repair. Alright, so here is a basic 3.2. Where are my hard drives? Didn't you just make 2 hard drives on here? Yes, I did. But we have to run HD Toolbox. Now, HD Toolbox by default on HD Setup 3.2 is in here. I just left it out and snapshotted the picture so I don't have to hunt for it. HD Toolbox, and we see 2 IDs. Look familiar? Remember, all we created was blank HD files. HD0, conveniently named, so it will be picked up as ID address 0, and HD1, conveniently named, so it picks up ID1. So this was a 16 gig, this was a, what, 3-ish, 3.8? So we're going to click change drive type, and we're going to say define new and read. Zulu SCSI, hard drive 1. So I'm going to hit a button like delete this because there's a boo-boo in 3.2 where it just doesn't like it. We see we have 4 gig, 3789, that's toilet paper math. Hey, okay. And then we can say okay again. Now that's just for hard drive 0. We can then go ahead normal and partition the drive. You can see here we have one big mama. I'm going to call it DH0. Advanced options, direct SCSI transfer, okay, save changes to the drive. Boom. Just like any other Amiga. Same thing for this one. We're going to change the hard drive, define new, read configuration, okay. This is that 16 gigabyte partition. And we're going to take this and go here. We're going to call this hard drive 1 and say okay, because it saves the configurations on your thing. You know what you got. Okay again. And then we can now partition this drive. I'll do one massive partition because why not? We're going to call this one conveniently DH1. I could call it big. I've called it many things. The block size automatically adjusts now with 3.2 and save changes to drive. So here we go. You can see the hard drives just magically popped up. We can go and format them quick. Now you can do all this on Winuae. It is up to you. I'm going to call this System 3000. I don't know. T. How about that? Just give it a funny name. Now the device name is DH0. You can name the icons whatever you want. For my own reference, I'm just naming it this. We're going to take the trash can off. Fast file system, international mode like Jesus would choose, and quick format, and yes, it'll initialize the disk just like any other hard drive. You can see here the hard drive light is initializing, and now we have System 3000T with 3.7 gigs free. We're going to repeat that process for DH1, which I'm going to call Big Mama. How about that? No trash can, fast file system, international mode like Jesus would choose, quick format. Are you sure? Are you totally, positively, abso-smurfly sure? Yes. I backed out so we can see the hard drive light. Done. I could then go ahead and do an actual install of Amiga Workbench, just like a regular hard drive. But wait, there's more. It is so much simpler to turn this puppy off and get this card out. Now, I just did that to teach you how to fish, okay? You can do all of this on Winuae, Linux like Windows. I am running the same version of Winuae you will. It's just I'm using Wine, which is the Windows environment emulator for Linux. You can see it looks very similar. I have configs for things. I have this OS 3.2. Let's make sure it works first. This is a 040. Chipset is 3000 Tower, ECS Agnes, perfect for me. I need the chipset extra 3000 Tower because I need that SCSI.device support, okay? Expansions, A3000 SCSI. When I chose that, it made that automatic. I did not do anything. It was already pre-selected when the chipset was chosen. It puts the correct hard drive emulation there. My ROM, I'm using my 3.2 Amiga 3000 Kickstart. I have 8 megs of chip, which is impossible in reality, and 16 megs of fast. Why? Why not? Over here in my dock bar, because this is Linux, I have that Amiga hard drive USB SD card HD0 HD1. There's a Zulu login here that just tells you some stuff about the Zulu card. It doesn't require you to do anything. I have done nothing to the card except take it out of the bag, put that memory card in it you saw, and plugged it in. And now I'm going to go to the CD and hard drives tab. Okay, on CD and hard drives, I'm going to now add a hard file, and I'm going to browse for this. Yours will be a drive letter. Mine's going to be media here, Amiga. We're going to add HD0. Okay, we can give it a name if we want. We're just going to say not bootable right now and say OK. And I'm going to add this other one in, hard file, this 16 gig bad boy, HD1, not bootable. OK. I could save my configurations, of course. You can do that. But I'm just going to click Start. I do have the CD ISO mounted, so what I can do is I'm going to add the CD-ROM right here. And that is going to, what was that ID? Hold on. Nope. I need to change that ID to 2. How about that? Okay, so much easier on the eyeballs. So we booted in the Amiga OS system. You can see right here, there it is. There's System 3000T with nothing on it. And there's Big Mama. It is the same configuration as before. I can even add my CD-ROM in by inserting a disk, right? We're going to go old school here. I'm going to go to the floppies here, if I can read the screen. Drop this down and put EOS 3.2 CD. Install 3.2 in here. Okay, we're on turbo. Okay. And now I'm going to do the activate CD-ROM. Press enter. If my ID is correct, there's my CD. Now I can go install, start here. It puts locale on the desktop if you haven't noticed that. That's how it knows the CD is there. And install, we're actually going to install OS 3.2 on this System 3000T disk, or System 3000T. We're going to install 3.2 and the support libraries on the machine. We're just going to do novice because I don't really care. No, we're going to put this on System 3000T. Proceed English. Yep. And that way it puts all the locale and everything. I don't care. I just didn't feel like unchecking all the languages. So this is going to roll off of the CD. We are in Winuae emulation on Ubuntu. But that's okay. It's just fast for me. I'm on one monitor and I can make this larger so you can see it without zooming into that tiny 17-inch screen over there, which I'll just turn off. And that's it. It's done. Now, if this works, I can click proceed and eject this disk and take this CD-ROM out, and we should get a bootable 3.2. Ta-da! I can tell it's the right one because I have my backdrop. And System 3000T is the only file there. And Big Mama. What does that mean? That means I can press F12 and quit, eject this disk. Now, remember, I'm only working with hard files, so I can just back this up, and my whole Amiga configuration is backed up. With Winuae use, I can mount this hard file, drag and drop, load it up full of programs, utilities, and then simply put it in the Zulu, and it just works. If you wanted multiple hard drives, just make yourself a folder, call this 3.2, and whatever file is in the root as HD 0 through 6, the card uses 7, will be presented as those devices for that machine. You could have Macintosh ones, you could have Atari discs, however the hell they're named, whatever you want as a SCSI ID. Windows machines, DOS, PCs, Macs, Amigas, Ataris, whatever. It's a device on your SCSI bus. The hard drive files make it so much easier. Isn't that cool or what? So now, let's take this card out. I'm going to eject this card. Got the whole card reader. In one swoop, no cuts. I'm going to back this camera out. Well, it's backed out. This stuff's just big. I'm going to put this in here, and I'm just going to let it hang. Well, no. I'll probably blow it up. Where'd the bag go? Because we're prepared. There's the bag. So we're going to put the Zulu in the bag. There's the card, 32 gigger. This might be an extended clip because I'm not doing any cuts. Put this over here. Switching the monitor to the VGA source and pressing the button. You got everything in focus here? There we go. Amiga 3000 keyboard with a mouse that's going to fall on the floor. And this should boot 3.2 no problem. Exactly what I just installed a second ago, which took maybe 5 minutes. The benefit is, there we go. Isn't that cool or what? Because I put the, oh, whoops. There. Because I put the 3000 chip type in Winuae, it's natively working without doing anything. I didn't do a single thing. Now I have a 3000T install. I even have Big Mama. I can go in and remove this backdrop because it gets on my daggone nerves. Snapshot all. And then when I'm done, I could actually rename this icon to System if I wanted to. But because I plan to have multiple hard drive files with different configurations, 3.9, 321, 3.2, Amiga OS 3.1, whatever you want, I can have them all on here, and simply by renaming or drag and dropping them into subfolders, whatever's on the root is presented to the computer, whether it be this Amiga 3000T, your GVP enabled Amiga 500, or a 2000, or whatever the heck Ataris use for their stuff. Macintoshes, it just shows up on the system bus. If it's ID 0, and the Finder and its system files blessed on the classic Macs, or whatever you got, it's gonna boot. You can have an Amiga folder, a Mac folder, whatever. The benefit is I can also have different files because they're named. It doesn't have to be HD0. I can name it Mac, M-A-C HD0, and have like Shapeshifter point to that actual file. It's a device, it is an ID, so make sure your ID numbers are different. If you have a Macintosh partition, you're going to use it on Amiga. You can't have 2 zeros, but I can name it whatever I want as long as it has that number in there. Mac 0, Mac 1, or Mac 2. And then ID number 2 would be that Mac drive. The Amiga won't see it, but Shapeshifter and like an M-Plant card, or the one that my brain isn't thinking of that I own. Yep, that one. Anywho, let's go in and set a pref. I can get this in a better resolution because it is in the crappy one for me. Save that puppy. No flicker on this bad boy, and there we go. We are in a higher color, auto adjusting. Boom. It'll even toss the ugly backdrop on. RAM disk, Big Mama, and System 3000T. So that is the Zulu SCSI, everybody. Zulu SCSI. It is the hybrid combination and brainchild of the technologies from the BlueSCSI, the SCSI to SD, and the RASCSI, which you have all seen, minus the BlueSCSI, on my channel here. This is from Inertial Computing, aka Rabbit Hole Computing. Links in the description below. They are also sold internationally from several stores. If you go to the website ZuluSCSI.com, there is a reseller page where you can choose your reseller to purchase this. How much did I pay for this? SCSI to SDs are like $100. This, without the micro SD card included, was $60. I did opt for the Berg connector to be installed. You can get it without installation, and they'll just send you a blank. But I didn't have any Bergs, so added a Berg. You can even add an external DB25, so you can have SCSI devices out. It will be a female, so your males plug right in. And you can run a ribbon cable out the back, whatever you want. Since this is a device on my SCSI bus, and this machine has a external SCSI port, I did not need that. Very inexpensive for what it is. I like it better than the SCSI to SD. You can get yours today. There are limited quantities, like everything I apparently review. So act now, grab it while you can. Thank you guys for watching. I hope this helps you. And as always, hope you learned something.